Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at the Extreme Z battle for the full power tech Super Saiyan 4 Goku, or the Super Saiyan full power 4, or the Super full power Saiyan 4 Super Saiyan Goku. I botched that up, but you know what I mean. So basically we're going to be taking a look at this Extreme Z battle. Obviously the effective categories are going to be Extreme Int type characters and GT Bosses characters, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously we're taking on the full power Goku, who is from the Shadow Dragon saga, and yeah, overall he looks pretty good. I think his EZA looks relatively solid. I think it's a nice one. I don't think it's one of the craziest ones, but I think it's a solid 7.5 out of 10. I think it's really good. Brings him way up to speed currently. The only downside I think is the attachment to health still, but overall it looks really good. Obviously we'll take a look at it in another video, but a big upgrade to him is obviously the upgrade to the full power category. That's gonna mean a lot to a lot of people. It's going to be able to help out a lot of people as well. So yeah, overall that's obviously something that's super duper useful, and yeah, I think people should be relatively grateful for. There's also some missions tied to using GT Bosses category units, which I think is really great for the most part, for most people. And then of course there's also a couple missions for speed on certain stages. Now the big limitation is obviously the Shadow Dragon saga, the GT Bosses requirement, which I think is going to affect quite a few players. Generally speaking, GT Bosses is not the world's strongest category, I want to say. It's not bad, but it's not like the world's greatest category. So there's a couple of decent free-to-play options. The Shadow Dragon Legion, I guess so to say, obviously is pretty reliable and pretty good overall. And then of course you also have a couple free-to-play units, this Int Frieza, the Physical Cell as well. All pretty solid. Like, I think it's pretty decent in terms of strength. Obviously the Super 17 is the only other GT Bosses lead, barring the free-to-play LR currently, but there are decent enough options. I'm going to refrain from using units like the Omega Shenron. Obviously he's super duper helpful for anyone's run, so you can run an almost full Shadow Dragons team if you want to. So I would suggest doing that if you don't have a GT Bosses lead, but you do have a Mega Shenron. And avoid units like the Int Baby. He's just not worth the time, even though he is Int. I don't think it's going to make too much difference, at least overall. But yeah, this is the team we're pretty much going to go with. I think Oceana Shenron is probably the best pickup that most people can make here. She's going to help you out with a large portion of the challenges. She's going to be helping you guys out quite a bit. So yeah, generally speaking, it's pretty decent, I want to say. But yeah, overall, definitely think that some people might struggle, but hopefully these 3 free-to-play units will help you out. They did help me quite a bit. At least I was able to show that they work. Physical Cell will take some damage, and you are going to want to Rambo all of them, but you should be fine. Generally speaking, you should be okay. I think for the most part you shouldn't really have a huge list of issues. I think for the most part you'll be fine. So yeah, just keep that in mind and you should be good to go. Obviously we cleared the first stage. As you guys know, with Extreme Z battles, we'll be looking at stage 10, stage 20 and stage 30. So yeah, obviously we'll be skipping ahead to stage 10 and then taking it on from there. But I mean, overall you shouldn't really have that many issues. I think, for the most part, this team holds its own. Really, only the Physical Cell. There are a couple other free-to-play GT Bosses units that you can pick up, but I don't really think any of them are noticeably worthy of your time, personally speaking. I just think they're a little bit not like... Most players should have at least some of the other decent units, if you know what I mean. There is obviously the Super Strike Rildo that can be picked up. like, yeah, overall. And I think, there's still one or two decent units. The AGL baby, I guess you could pick up, but realistically, you're just going to hinder yourself a bit more than you need to. You should be good. You should be more than fine. I'm going to stick it to like a 95% fine. At least for me, I think you'll be okay. In terms of everything else, obviously the biggest issue players will have is the GT bosses lead. Like I said, go for a full Shadow Dragons team, or get the GT bosses Shadow Dragon Legion team, and then you should be good to go. Shadow Dragon Legion is actually a very, very solid team, and they're actually a pretty solid unit. I've really grown to respect them during the celebration. They, with the Omega Shenron and the new tech Sin Shenron, they're actually really starting to make the team look pretty good. There's also the World Tournament baby that you can utilize as well if you really need to. He's a pretty solid option, not like the most spectacular option, but yeah. At stage 20, obviously, we get a couple more restrictions laid out on us. At this point, you'll notice I also fed orbs into the cell and the freezer, mainly just because I felt that they definitely needed them. The extra stats certainly didn't hurt them, especially the cell, and it gave us a bit more health to play with as well. So, generally speaking, I did kind of opt to run that. Obviously, the best options that you're going to have are probably going to be Oceanus Shenron, the Shadow Dragon Legion units. If you've got Omega Shenron, definitely use him. Tech Sin Shenron, try and use him. Then Strength Omega Shenron also falls under decent. Physical Sin Shenron. You can use the GT Cell as well, or the GT Freezer. Both of them should be relatively okay. I would refrain. I mean, you could use the Nova Shenron, the physical one. He's also fine, although he doesn't really aid the team as much as the tech easy aid Nova Shenron does. So yeah, it's just going to depend on what you're kind of rocking or what you're rolling with. Obviously, generally speaking, the Int Shadow Dragon's Legion unit is actually the best friend lead that you can bring along. But if you don't have the Shadow Dragon Legions team, then your next best bet is to run, obviously, the Super 17. And that's not to say that Super 17 is worse than the Shadow Dragon's Legion units. It's actually just that they provide a lot of synergy with their support capabilities, and their immediate typing means they don't have to get a crit, which obviously, the Tech Super 17 does technically need to do. So they do generally just run a little bit better, at least from my experience. So yeah, obviously, I would say that's pretty much the best one, at least for me. But yeah, overall, whatever you want to run is fine. Either or, doesn't really matter too much. I think, for most players, it's going to be a lot easier to find the Super 17 than it is going to find, the Int Shadow Legions team. But like I said, to each their own. Realistically speaking, you shouldn't feel that bad using either one. But yeah, obviously we're now at stage 30. At stage 30, pretty much everything's off the table. You can't interrupt, you can't stun, you can't seal, you can't do anything like that. So yeah, generally speaking, everything is pretty much off the table right now. And yeah, it's generally quite, I want to say, intensive, obviously for the most part, using these guys. I think a lot of people are scared of it, but I think they scaled the Extreme Z battle quite well, and I think a lot of people aren't going to struggle with this Extreme Z battle as much as they would have with some of the other ones. I think a lot of them are, generally speaking, quite solid, and I think, this Extreme Z battle has obviously been tapered to the fact that GT bosses is not the most widely dispersed or widely invested in category. So I think generally speaking, it's probably better, at least for me, how they've scaled this, and I think most players will be fine with this. Obviously, if you're a brand new player and you've somehow picked up full power SS4 Goku, although it's literally almost impossible in the last year. Or maybe you got them on the Dokkan Fest banner. Generally speaking, I wouldn't really use too much of my time. Obviously trying to utilize them, but at the same token, like I think, if you do need them, you do need the easy air. I actually think it's a pretty fair Extreme Z battle across the board, and I think you shouldn't really struggle too much with it. That being said, you can of course struggle. Like you obviously can, have issues with the stage. Like it's something you can definitely start to feel like pushing you a bit further on. Like I said, physical cell starts to take a lot of damage at this point. Even the Inch Freezer, who's got 30% damage reduction, he starts to take quite a sizable amount of damage as well. Obviously he's unawakened, it's not like he's the world's greatest unit. I think it's more a testament to how easy the Extreme Z battle is that he's even remotely usable at all. Like you could not use a unit like him in the Super Saiyan 4 Extreme Z battles, for example. So yeah, generally speaking, I think you should be fine. And you shouldn't really have that many issues, I guess, overall with the stage. It's just going to depend, again, entirely on your box, but your box can be augmented pretty decently by some of these pretty solid units, I think. So yeah, I would say, you know what, don't have too many issues. Obviously, if you do pick up the Shadow Dragon's Legion unit, I think that's the most crucial free-to-play unit that you can get just in general. I think they carry the run pretty hard, and yeah, otherwise just focus on a Shadow Dragon's team. Basically will probably be a lot better than the GT Bosses team, just because you'll have double Omega Shenron, which at the end of the day probably does more damage than like 90% of the GT Bosses team anyway. So I would highly suggest that you obviously look at picking up a Shadow Dragon's team if possible. So yeah, but that's pretty much it when it comes to the Extreme Z battle, guys. So hopefully that helped you out. Obviously we completed most of the missions, got a bit unlucky with the first one. Just went back and did it afterwards. We missed it by like 3 seconds, I think. So realistically, you should be fine. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And obviously the big incentive is to Extreme Z Awaken, the full power SS4 Goku. And we'll take a look at just how good he is. Obviously we'll, do a review on them. We'll try them out in some of the content. I've completed all the red zone stages now. I'm just waiting for those videos to slowly release, and then I can release my review videos in red zone. But yeah, that's it from me. Take care, stay safe, and bye.